100,000 years ago, in the dark outside a cave, a young woman braces herself against the ground. She doesn't know if she'll live to see the sun rise. There's no doctor beside her, no hospital, no one who understands what's happening inside her body because that understanding doesn't exist yet. Just her, the pain, and a handful of women crouched close in the firelight. What she's about to do is the single most dangerous thing a human being can attempt. More dangerous than facing a predator. More dangerous than the hunt. She is about to give birth, and among every species on Earth, she is the one most likely to die from it. To understand why, you have to go back millions of years to the moment our ancestors first stood upright. Walking on two legs meant the hips had to change shape. The pelvis pulled inward, tightened into a narrow ring built for balance and long strides. But that ring is also the only door a baby has. And while the hips were closing, something else was happening at the same time. The human brain was getting bigger, generation after generation, because intelligence was what kept our ancestors alive. So picture the collision. A skull growing larger with every passing age and the passage it must fit through growing smaller. Two evolutionary pressures pulling in opposite directions, meeting head-on at the exact moment a life begins. No other animal on the planet lives inside a contradiction like this. A newborn foal is standing within the hour, but a human head clears a human pelvis with barely a few millimeters of room. And it doesn't end there because the baby can't simply slide out. The upper part of the birth canal runs one direction, the lower part runs another, so the baby is forced to twist deep inside to line itself up with the way out. That single twist changes everything about how birth works for us. In nearly every other species, the newborn arrives facing its mother. She can reach down, clear its airway, lift it to her own chest. She can help herself. A human baby is born facing away from her, in a position she cannot safely reach or guide on her own. For the first time in the history of life on Earth, birth becomes something a mother physically cannot do alone. But she didn't walk into that night unprepared. For months, she carried more than a child. She carried the memory of what birth can cost. She had seen a woman from her own camp swell just as she was swelling now, and she had heard the silence that followed one particular night when a child was carried out alive and its mother was not. That memory doesn't leave. So as her belly grows, so does the fear beside the joy. Every kick reminds her a life is coming. It also reminds her of the door that life will have to pass through. This is where her survival didn't come from strength. It came from other women. In the final stretch of pregnancy, her own body quietly loosens the joints of the pelvis, just enough to widen that narrow ring when the moment finally comes. The baby helps too. Its skull isn't fused shut the way an adult's is. It's made of separate plates that can shift and overlap as the head presses through, folding narrower to pass through a space that shouldn't fit at all. But none of that is enough on its own. Around her, women who have done this before know how to catch a baby turning the wrong way, how to clear its mouth so the first breath comes, how to tell ordinary bleeding from the bleeding that means danger. They have no medicine, no way to stop an infection, no way to free a baby that's truly stuck. And yet they are the entire reason she survives the night. What we now call midwifery began here, as something much simpler. The discovery that we don't survive being born through strength, we survive it through being held. Every person who has ever lived came through that same narrow, twisting passage. Every ancestor in your bloodline was a baby who made it, and a mother who lived long enough to hold the next one. That chain has never once broken. Not in 100,000 years, and somewhere tonight, in a room full of monitors and medicine. Another woman is gripping someone's hand, moving through that same twist, the same tight fit, the same fear in the dark. The fire is gone. But the circle of women who stay never really left. So the next time you hear that we survived because we were the strongest, remember where every one of us actually came from. Not from strength, from someone who stayed,